So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jesse. For the last 5 years, I've been working with Darren Tang, and I was in charge of creating all the videos, filming everything, edits, thumbnails, titles, everything on the content side. The narrative that Darren gave is not 100% accurate. A lot of details were left out. The role that I've played in his life is just to make him look good online, right? Like to support him in his career, and to see that this is what things have come to is really sad. I'm kind of just going to be defending the things that were said about myself. You guys can come to a decision of your own of however you want to feel about the situation.
This video isn't meant to shine any bad light on Jesse.
The video quite literally only shined a bad light on me. I'm not sure why he even made this video, because what role do I have in bowling now that I'm not with him? What's the point other than to get his emotions out?
Talking about some financials and some numbers at first, I was very new to the space. I didn't really understand how things worked and like what the cost of a video, what that cost was. Everything seemed kind of high.
Everything seemed kind of high. High is subjective, right? Depending on where you live in the world and whatever. I was making wedding videos for $4,000 per video, 8 to 10 minute videos. My initial deal with Darren was 4 videos a month for $1,000. And he says in this video, he didn't say it yet, everything felt kind of transactional. Everything felt kind of high. When on my end, I very clearly expressed, I'm taking a very big hit, the amount of money that I'm charging you for these videos. And this was all expressed in our very first call. And he told me about his desires with YouTube. And he specifically said this one thing. He said, him and Marshall have talked about making YouTube videos before, and where the channel itself makes money and they can just pay the editor what the channel makes. So I said, I'll take that hit up front. I'll only ask for $1,000 for 4 videos, and then we'll see where things go. Not even close to the amount of money that I was making doing anything else. But I took that sacrifice in the beginning for the sake of building something good together.
But early on, he was more transactional. This is a business. I pay him, he makes the videos, and we call it that. I saw it more from the angle of let's be a team,
I saw it just the same way. Like I said, I took a massive hit with the amount of money. That's not transactional. Mind you, I had a pregnant wife and a toddler at this time. I was in a very vulnerable position with my family situation. I was sacrificing time with my family to spend time with Darren. Specifically, like me and my ex-wife had arguments about it. Why I was spending so much time bowling. Why I was going off with this guy that I had just met. The $1,000 that I asked for the 4 videos was just like baseline expenses so that I could have something to put food on the table for my kids.
League night is really cool. It's still really cool. We did it in a way that separated us from everybody else. It was different. The production value was high. My experiences there were very difficult. Jesse possesses a lot of qualities that they aren't the best qualities to have.
Okay, I agree with this. When we started League Night, freshly divorced, right? Freshly out of this relationship, I was a single dad of 2 kids, a 6-week-old child, and a toddler. And I went from having a wife to take care of the kids while I was working to now learning how to work, take care of kids at the same time. I was under a lot of stress during that time, and I'll take accountability for any personality traits, that I had that Darren didn't necessarily vibe with. It's a trying time, to go through that. And I wouldn't want anybody to have to deal with being cheated on, going through a relationship breakup, and then like having to deal with like taking care of kids. I had to move back in with my dad. Like my whole life was just going backwards at this time. But yes, me as a person during that time, extremely stressful, very difficult situation. And I'll take accountability that some of those things that I was going through in my personal life may have reflected my attitude or the way that I would talk in other situations that didn't have anything to do with like my relationship and stuff.
I would get cornered in league sometimes because he's fairly arrogant and fairly defensive, and it was tough in league when he would pose questions and it was like a yes or no question.
There's a lot more to this League Night thing, right? So there's a lot of contradictions in bowling, right? There's a lot of contradictions that kind of end in the same result. Every bowler thinks that they just do it correctly. I noticed these contradictions very early. We'd be bowling together and I would ask him a question, or he would try to give me some advice, and then the discrepancy would come into my mind and say, wow, I've heard something else before. And I would mention that and I would say, hey, I've heard this before. Can you help me understand? Or at least that was my heart behind it. Did it come out that way perfectly? Probably 99% no. Seeing all these discrepancies just threw me off, and so I'd always ask about it. I took that as me questioning his authority, and he told me. He said that he feels like as a student I shouldn't be questioning like what the professional is saying. And so we talked about it multiple times, but things got very extreme, and it got to a point where we even had a safe word, and I don't remember whose idea the safe word was, but regardless of whose idea it was mutually agreed upon. When we were in this bowling setting where I was the student, if I said something that kind of rubbed him the wrong way, he could pull out the safe word, which was pineapple. And I kind of just had to shut up and just kind of reflect and say, okay, what did I say wrong that kind of made him feel that way? But tell me why use the safe word on me on a golf course. We were golfing and he was giving me kind of unsolicited advice. I was hitting a slice every time. It was going way off to the right and he was telling me you should just aim for the slice, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I just kind of want to like learn how to play golf correctly. But that's your miss. You got to play for your miss. And I was like, dude, I kind of just want to golf and have fun. And he goes, all right. Pineapple on the golf course, sitting in the golf cart. He's using the safe word on me. Maybe I'm way off the rockers here, but that just seems like a way abuse of power and abuse of authority. I thought it was for the bowling alley, like because you're the pro and I'm the student and I want to get better, so it's okay. But now we're talking about it in other places. It was weird.
So he said, I want to be 50-50 in this. I want to start an LLC. Let's start a company together and 50% of the profits. And this is where I made I don't want to say first mistake because I already made some mistakes maintaining a relationship with somebody that was admittedly a narcissist and petty. And again, a lot of qualities that are not the most ideal.
I'll speak real quick on the narcissist thing. I was in another long-term relationship after my ex-wife, and that had a lot of mental illnesses involved. And I went through a journey of feeling like I was a narcissist, kind of manipulated into thinking so. Do I have narcissistic tendencies? Of course, I'm a human. I went through all kinds of therapy. I found multiple therapists. I did all kinds of research. I didn't want to be like that anymore. And every single therapist that I went to told me the same thing. Why are you here? I said, because I feel like I'm a narcissist. And they always said, true narcissists don't go to therapy. True narcissists don't believe they're narcissists. And I say, well, maybe I'm just like a very self-aware narcissist. Narcissists are not self-aware. It's an oxymoron. You, Jesse, are not a narcissist. You may have been led to believe that based on the people around you. But me talking to you as a therapist, you are not a narcissist. First one said that to me, I switched. Second one said it to me, I switched again because I felt like I wasn't getting the help I needed. The third one said it to me, I'm like, all right, maybe you guys are onto something. Again, I just wanted to make sure.
So that's where the business part went. I basically signed off half of my brand to another person, and one thing I suggest is you never do that.
All I've told you guys as of now is that my deal was 4 videos for $1,000 a month, right? And this thought in my head of, okay, when the channel starts making more than $1,000 a month, I'm gonna get paid more. That is not the case. I remember the very first month that we made more than $1,000. I still only got paid $1,000. I never brought this up to Darren. I never said anything about it, but I felt kind of misled, when that happened. I noticed that when we would upload videos, we would make money. And we'd upload videos and we'd make money. And I said, you know what, maybe the solution here is to make more videos, but I can't do that without getting paid more. But instead of just asking Darren for more money, I said, let me take a leap of faith here. How about we make this a non-risk thing for you, Darren? How about instead of you paying me $1,000 out of your own pocket, we just split the YouTube channel revenue 50-50. Again, he was only at 1,000 subscribers when we first started. Now we're at 20-ish. We'll film as many videos as we want. I'll come up with the whole schedule. I'll do all the thumbnails, titles, editing. You don't have to worry about any content creation. I'll take all that on. You focus on being a bowler. Very quick conversation, actually. He said, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. There was not really any thought about it. If we both get to benefit from the growth of the channel, then we could both care about it in our own way and we could both win. He thought it was a good idea. And so then we started making more videos, and I started making 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 videos a month sometimes. And I was doing all the editing. Again, the editing, the thumbnails, all the storytelling. League night was my idea. League night with Lance was my idea. A lot of the coaching videos were topics that I prompted Darren. He was 90% of the brand, but I was 90% of the videos actually going up. And then it got to a point where my abilities with video creation were being recognized by other bowling creators. So I'm being approached from all these different angles, but there was a part of it that felt like I want to just focus on Darren. I didn't want Darren to feel like I was leaving him in the dust. And so I texted him. This person has asked me like 3 times in the last week to work out a deal for me to help him out with his channel. But I would rather invest more time and effort into our channel since we've built it together from the ground up. But if we can't get on the same page about running it as a business and not just your YouTube channel, then I'm gonna have to continue to diversify where my income is coming from. Darren never really saw YouTube as a business, even though we had merchandise, we had like these different streams of income. We were starting to get some like sponsorship deals and stuff, and there's multiple partners involved. That's just kind of what you do. He never wanted to make it a business. He wanted to just keep all the YouTube revenue going to his personal account and then paying me out. That's not really in his best interest either. Darren didn't really understand that, and if that's how you want to keep it, then that's fine. But I'm going to work with these other people because that's just in my best interest. But if you want to lock things down and really care about it together and invest in this channel together, then let's talk about it. So we created the LLC. We signed the operating agreement. We decided we'd be 50-50 partners. But once again, me taking sacrifices, initiative, by the way. I said, I think the best thing for you, Darren, is for you personally to still own 10% of your YouTube channel to yourself so that you still have majority. And then 90% of it goes to the business, which you are 50-50 owner of. Therefore, you are entitled to 55% of the YouTube channel still, and I am only entitled to 45%. That was my offer to him. I took the initiative so that he can feel safe and comfortable with creating a business. So him signing away half of his brand is not at all what happened. He only had 1.5 thousand subscribers when we started working together, all the way to 85,000 subscribers. It wasn't him just signing his brand away. It was the thing that we built together, creating a business that we now legally own together. That's all it was. And even then, I still made sure he had majority share. I did a lot of things out of good faith and sacrifice on my end so that he would feel okay. One thing that Darren fails to put in this video is one of the big rifts in our relationship was the fact that one of his buddies kind of aired him out. He told me he was just hanging out with Darren and he thought it was great that he could just show up, film videos, go home, and collect money. Those are Darren's words. Eventually, it came up in conversation, and Darren did admit to saying that. He thought it was great that he just didn't really have to worry about anything. And so for him to go in here and say, I thought it was just going to be Jesse owning half of it, and he's going to care about it, blah, 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 and talk about how he feels done wrong because he signed away half his brand, which I helped him grow from practically zero. But then behind closed doors, he talks about, it's great that I really don't have to do anything and I can just collect money. You can have your own opinion on that.
And then fast forward a couple more seasons. Hey, I got an idea. Let's make a website where we teach people how to bowl. And, this is a really good idea, honestly. This is how howtobowl.com came about.
I don't know if it was the editing or if it was Darren misspeaking, or if this was his intention at all. I'll give the benefit of the doubt, and I think the way that he was saying it was quoting me, but that is not what the video portrays. Howtobowl.com was 100% my idea. I came up with the idea based on the filmmaking course that I took. I took that entire framework and wanted to apply it to bowling. Like I said, I'll give the benefit of the doubt, and I think he was quoting me. He did not say that though, and I could see how if you don't know that, and you're just watching this video for the first time, that it looks like it was Darren's idea saying, hey, I got an idea. Let's make a website teaching people how to bowl. Very important context.
Initially, 85% of that was Jesse.
Okay, so this is already false. Initially, we were 50-50. Howtobowl.com was supposed to be another thing under Dynasty Bowling, which is our LLC. There's a lot of work that goes into creating an online course. There's the website, there's the 100+ videos that we had to film and edit. I took it upon myself to run the entire business once again because me being considerate of Darren's time and energy, I just wanted him to focus on being a bowler and performing, and he wasn't performing well on tour and stuff. I'll take the responsibility of doing all the business and the content creation side. The one thing that I asked Darren for was to create the curriculum for howtobowl.com because he's the pro, right? He's the professional bowler. He should be the brains behind all of it. I created the curriculum for howtobowl.com. These are all the videos that we, I believe, have filmed or like possibly filmed almost, whatever. I'm gonna show you guys here. This is the history that we have of the document. This is May 31st, 2023. The first time this document has been uploaded. I came up with this entire curriculum. The first time Darren added to it was September 19th. This is the second round, but the first initial huge round of videos that we launched the course with were only come up with by me. And so the only thing that I asked Darren for being the curriculum of howtobowl.com, he didn't even do it. And so not only did I create the whole website, design the whole website, create all these graphics, land all these partnerships, discount codes, everything, create all the pricing, all this stuff. And then we get to launch week, right? Again, we're still 50-50 here, even though I've done 95% of everything leading up to the creation of this product. I was very excited. I was expressing excitement. I had a countdown on my Instagram story, everything. Darren didn't even stay up for the launch of this product that we've been working on together For months already, we've been filming these videos, and we finally launch it. I put in all this work to make this thing happen. It's not like he didn't know about it. There's a public countdown of when it's gonna launch. We had 100 spots open for the pre-sale, and we had 300 people on the wait list. We were so excited. And then he didn't even stay up for the launch. He didn't express that same amount of care for the product as I did. And that was the biggest wake-up call for me, because again, we were 50-50 at this time. Within a couple of days, it could have been the next day or whatever, I start to realize howtobowl.com is bigger than just the Darren Tang channel. It can be very big. If we get other professional bowlers involved, this could be a thing that could be on TV shows, sponsored by howtobowl.com. I reached out to Darren. And I said that idea. I said, I think this thing can be really big. I don't think it should be just limited to the Darren Tang channel, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of back end. It's a lot of business. It's a lot of negotiations. It's a lot of Facebook ads. It's a lot of learning. I don't want you, Darren, to have to deal with all of that. Howtobowl.com is not a bowling product. It is an info product, but the information is bowling. But you take bowling out and you put cooking in there, video creation. You could put anything in there, how to do anything. Business itself stays the same. Darren also failed to mention that we got 2 other partners involved that I also offered 15% to. So I never once just had 85% to myself. I offered Darren 15%. I offered one instructor 15%, and I offered the other instructor 15%. I had 55% as the managing member of this business, and all the instructors had 15%, which they all agreed to. Darren also failed to mention, he expressed that he felt like he didn't get his fair share, but it wasn't about the money, it was about the sentiment. And I said, okay, here's my sentiment now. I will give you 10% of my own share. I will go down to 45% and give you 25%. And the other partners will stay at 15. I took 10% out of my own share to make Darren's share now 25%. I went down below majority so that Darren could feel better about what he's being involved in. Why he failed to mention that in the video, I don't know. He left so many details out of that whole deal in business just to make his situation look worse.
We never signed any contracts or anything stating, you know, this is the amount of equity or this is the revenue share or whatever, but I got...
Okay, again, false. So here is the operating agreement for howtobowl.com LLC. As you can see here, it is between myself, Dynasty Bowling, which is me and Darren's business that we are 50-50 on. I'm gonna block the other people involved for the sake of privacy. You can see right here, it says that I own 40%. 30% is owned by Dynasty Bowling. So 15 of that goes to Darren and 15 of that goes to myself. And as you can see right here at the bottom, signed by Dynasty Bowling by Darren Tang. Truthfully, I just don't know if it's blatant lies that he's trying to tell or if he just forgot. That's up to you guys to decide.
Every single successful business owner that I talked to about that deal feels the same way.
Not a single one of those business partners ever talked to me one time. Like nobody ever reached out to me or any sort of representation for Darren at all. If we talked business partner to business partner, which I've done a million times, they all get it. But of course, Darren's friends and his business partners are gonna empower him to feel that way.
He always valued his position as a content editor, producer, more than the content itself. You know, there's that saying, you could talk the talk, but you walk the walk, and there was a lot of talking, not a lot of walking in terms of presenting himself in a way that he said.
Again, major contradiction, a lot of talking and not a lot of walking, even though Darren was the one talked to his friend about how Jesse does everything.
I just came to a realization that I was not happy making YouTube videos with this person, and I wanted to continue making YouTube videos, you know.
He said he came to a realization that he was not happy making YouTube videos. That is true. And I commend him for his honesty with that. However, that is not at all how the conversation was approached when it came to separation. As you can see in the text that I will put on screen, he said, I want to talk to you about the group and the channel. And the start of that call started as, how do you feel about how the group is going? Like, what's your opinion on this person and how they're running things? And then it got to a point where he was talking to me about the money, because in 2025, bowling YouTube has gone down. He said, you know, like, do you feel like we need to pay this person? Like, what about our editor? Like, you know, we pay him a lot of money, and I feel like that's what you were good at. So, like, why are we still paying him? Darren had the nerve to ask me, what do you feel like you do? Like, what do you do now? which just feels very disingenuous because I still managed all of our employees, ran the entire merch shop, created every thumbnail, uploaded every video, came up with all the titles. It's not all just what I did, but it's also what have I done, dude? Like, why are you asking me that? Am I doing slightly less now than when we first started? Of course, because when you bootstrap a company, you got to pick it up and do everything. But once you have employees, now the roles kind of change and you manage people, and rather than doing things yourself, you delegate. But we didn't just get there overnight. I edited all the videos and made all the thumbnails and all the titles and everything for the first 3 years before we even hired an editor. And then I had to train that editor into making YouTube videos how I did, as close as possible. As an owner, the goal is not to continue being hands-on the whole time. It's to build a machine so that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor at some point. On that phone call, Darren was trying to convince me to fire our editor and so that I could go back to making YouTube videos so that the business could save money or whatever. And then eventually his true feelings came out where he just told me that he wasn't happy making YouTube videos anymore. And again, I suggested, would it be better if I stepped away? He did not kick me out like he's making it seem. I suggested it. One thing Darren can never ever say about me is that I did not support him. My entire role in his life was to support him as a bowler. Even when he was being cold to me in person, he was dapping up the person next to me and then just giving me the fist bump. When he would barely talk to me and he would joke around with Lance and then just look at me with disgust, I toughed through all of that and I still supported him and I still did everything that I could to make him look good online.
I came to the realization that this person just makes me upset. You know, I walk into the building, I'm scared for what they're going to say. I'm scared how they're going to act, how they're going to talk to people.
Darren very outwardly speaks about me like it's impossible to get along with me. I was so convinced by Darren that I had to change who I was in order to get along with people, when in reality, I only had to change who I was around him. And I did that so much. I was his literal bitch. The way that I approached him, afraid that any little thing that I say is going to tick him off, is just insane. I don't talk to anybody else the way that I have to talk to Darren. Even so much so, you can see in these texts right here. This is a very clear example of how I have to be so careful around this guy. When we started League Night this season, we moved from South Point to Gold Coast, and I was apprehensive about how the internet would run. And so on the very first night, I wanted to test the stream, not announce it, and I expressed this to Darren in person. So Darren posted an Instagram post announcing League Night Live when I just wanted it to be a test stream. I didn't want to announce it. Once I saw his post, I told him that. I said, tonight was meant to just be a test stream, by the way. Didn't announce it and wasn't planning to because we don't know how the internet and setup is going to be yet. It might be best to edit your IG caption if possible. And he goes, would appreciate it if you could ask instead of advise next time. This is an example of him just being so nitpicky. I didn't say change your IG caption now. I'm just saying it might be best if you can. And he goes, can you ask instead of advise next time? Okay, I did mention before that week one would just be a test, but it was in person, so there's no paper trail. My bad for not mentioning it again. So I recognize where he's coming from. I see it from his perspective. I take accountability for what I could have done better. And then I say, I'll still try to be more mindful of how I speak to you. Laying at this guy's feet, bowing down in front of him, whatever he wants in order for this relationship to be better. And he has the nerve in this video to say that I just didn't want to grow as a person and that I didn't want to get better. When I have so many texts like this where I'm just like, okay, I'll do better. I'll do what I can. I'm sorry. I apologize. I take accountability. I'll be more mindful.
It ended with me kind of standing up to him saying, hey man, I don't appreciate you being condescending right now. You're kind of talking down to me. And he just called me emotional. And at that point, I said, yeah, I'm not having this conversation. I just walked away.
This is where things get really sticky. The last conversation we had was about our separation, right? Text of Darren telling me that he's down to do things fairly, get a proper valuation on the company, and then pay out my share accordingly. That's not at all what happened. He basically said, fuck every valuation. I don't care what the company is worth. Our business, as you can see right here, bear in mind, some of the worst months that we've had recently, our business made $155,000. Our business had not made any less than that for the last 3 years. And so when it comes to valuation, I did not even ask for a multiplier. I said just 1 year of annual revenue, 50% of that. In theory, you can make that back in 6 months. Usually it takes years to recoup stuff like that. Darren said, the only money that I'm willing to pay you is $15,000. I'm just not really gonna move off of that number. And so you could take it, and if you don't wanna take it, then we could just blow the whole thing up and just not make YouTube videos anymore. So he basically threatened me with a take it or leave it, threatened to delete the channel behind closed doors, told me he wouldn't make YouTube videos anymore and everything would just go to zero if I didn't just take his offer for a business that I worked on for 5 years that made $15,000 a month for 20, 30 months throughout that whole 5 years. Like every single winter, we were upwards of 10K, 11K, 13K, 15K, 20K plus with merch sales. And he offered me $15,000 for 5 years of work. And he got the whole channel, 250,000 subscribers. He can make all that back in 1 month and said, I'm not willing to pay you any more than that. You could take it or not. I negotiated a little bit. So to be fair, I kept a lot of camera equipment, which is worth about maybe 10K. Some money that I owed him from howtobowl.com, we washed away. We'll call it about 30 to 35K in value. Once again, that's not even a half, 6 months of revenue that our company made. When it came to the separation, we did not sign that deal until 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago at the time of filming this. Darren took it upon himself to change the bank account for the YouTube channel to his own personal bank account before we signed any deal. He removed my access from the YouTube channel before we signed any deal. The money that was supposed to be paid for June, where I still uploaded every video, got paid to his own personal bank account. And he tried to take that for himself before I got somebody else involved. I even reached out to him and said, did you change the bank account? I still uploaded videos in this month. Dead silence. Even in July, I was gonna take the hit. Only 1, 2, 3 videos were uploaded. Therefore, all the money that was still paid in July, minus those 3 videos, I should still technically be entitled to my half because that's all money that the channel's making off of videos from years ago. And he changed the bank account without saying anything to me and then took away my access without saying anything to me. We were talking about the deal and he said he's only willing to do 15,000 or whatever. I get that it's a lot of money to cough up front. What if we did a payment plan? He said, maybe. I said, okay, if we did a payment plan, because it's not being all paid up front, it would most likely result in more money being paid out over time. You do understand that, right? Is that okay? And he goes, yeah, I get it, but I feel like you're just being really condescending right now. I'm only saying this because Darren has not gone through a buyout or any of this business stuff before. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. And he took that as me being condescending. And then I lashed back and I said, dude, for the last 5 years, you've been just trying to change me every single time. All you do is try and change how I act around you. And now that we're separating, I'm just not gonna let you do that to me anymore. And he said, I'm not trying to change you. I'm just telling you that you're being condescending. And I was like, dude, you're just being emotional because that doesn't matter right now. We need to just get on the same page about what we're gonna do moving forward. And then he walked away, as somebody would do when they're emotional.
A big reason why I don't have interest in speaking with Jesse anymore as well is the more we started to uncover some rocks, turn them over, we're finding out some things, some very shady things going on financially, and communication was never very good. Jesse would sponsor events or spend money in places and not say anything about it.
For him to say that I did not say anything to the other partners is just crazy because I literally have a long text right here explaining the tour event that we sponsored, everything that we got out of it, why it was a good deal, and then I ended it with any thoughts or objections. I only paid the deposit for the event 2 days before. Plus, as you can see in the very top of the text, I said, I mentioned to Darren and blank, but not blank yet. So this text was only to fill in the one other person. Darren and the other instructor already knew about this before I even paid the deposit. For him to say in this video that I would do this without telling them is crazy. But not only that, every single time that I felt ready for the business to purchase a new piece of equipment to make better videos, I would always have to run it by Darren first. He said, yep, no problem, whatever, every time. But every single time I had to run it by him. Once we finally formed our business and we had a joint bank account that all the money went into, I still ran purchases by him. As you can see in this text right here, I said, cool with you if I send it on the next camera. This is a $5,000 camera purchase, by the way. He said, buy it. I said, for sure, thanks. And then he says this, no need to send messages like that in the future. Darren gave me the open door to just purchase things as needed. Like I didn't need to run it by him anymore now that we had a joint bank account. You guys can form your own opinion on the things that I've told you. For those of you that have been a fan of me for the last 5 years and have appreciated the videos and stuff, I'm deeply grateful for you. It was a really fun journey coming into a space, that didn't really have what we were able to do. And so for the same reasons that Darren is grateful for you guys as fans, I am as well. You guys mean just as much to me as you do to him. And whatever your opinion is on the situation, you're entitled to that, and that's fine. What's next? I'm not really sure. I was hoping to have that figured out before I had to make a video like this, but I guess we'll find out.